Hi, everyone. We'll get
Hey
started shortly.
everyone.
Welcome to our room today. If you're logging on now, make sure you've got a notebook and a pen with you just so that you can jot anything down that you need. But we will be open for questions at the end too. We'll wait about 30 seconds or so and just make sure that people are logging on. But we're excited to have you here today. This little convo and support. All right. So good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us today. We're excited to have you here. Bianca and I wanted to do this for you because we've been speaking to a lot of people lately that are struggling a little bit with their mindset around looking for a new job. And it doesn't matter whether your position's been made redundant, if you're coming back from extended leave, if you're in a role now and you just don't feel that it's right for you, the organization or the position, or you're looking for a career change, this mindset piece really does suit all of those different arenas. And we're here for your questions. So this will be more like a conversation today. You'll walk away with a couple of ideas, but be really open to what we're talking about. And if you need to go offline later and have a chat with us, there's no problem whatsoever. So a lot of people have been feeling a little bit lost and uncertain in their job search. And this today is just to give you a little bit of a reset to say, okay, here's my mind. These are some practical things that I can do to maintain my sanity, but then also help me find direction in where you want to go with your job search. So you're definitely not alone. Bianca and I have seen firsthand how a lack of clarity around direction, values, and goals can hinder even the most qualified candidates. So we're excited to dive into this and, as I said, jump in the chat box if you need to. So my name is Emma. And again, welcome to today's conversation. And we're really glad you could join us. This is Bianca. So hi, B.
Hey guys. Sorry, I've got a screaming child in the background, so I'm just muting for the next few minutes, but I'm all ears.
The joys of being able to balance work and home. So we're experienced recruiters. We specialize in the human resources arena. So we have interviewed and spoken to hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of human resources specialists over the years. So not just from our expertise in placing HR people into different organizations, it's the human resources people and the talent acquisition specialists interviewing people. So we know what they look for, and that positive mindset is really important when you're job searching. Doesn't matter who you're talking to. So we've seen people come to us that have gone, I'm not happy in my role, or I'm not happy in the organization, or help me, my role's been made redundant. Where do I go to next? So in terms of that job search, like you think of it like a road trip. Like you wouldn't go on a road trip to an unknown destination and go without a map. So it's important that you set up some milestones along the way. Now, Bianca and I, as I said, have been doing HR recruitment for many, many years. And within that, we're very passionate about helping people to move into an organization and a role that aligns with their vision, their purpose, and their values. Because without that, when the role becomes too hard, it's too hard to go on. So first things first, mindset. So your mindset is incredibly powerful. It can either be your biggest obstacle or your greatest asset. And so if you believe you're going to fail, or there aren't enough jobs out there, or there isn't the right job for me, you're pretty much giving yourself permission to fail. So it's really important that we dive into some of these things. So in terms of like identifying your values and direction before looking for your new role, grab your notebook. I think every morning when you wake up, talk about things or write down things that you're grateful for. Do a really good reflection session on roles that you've really enjoyed. Why did you enjoy them? Like, what was it about the organization? What was it about the job? So list 3 things that you really enjoyed in one of your previous roles. And then what I'd like you to do is list 3 organizations that you've worked for and see if you can pinpoint why you enjoyed working there. It could have
And
been the
also
people.
on the flip side, sorry, I'm on the flip side, write down some organizations that you haven't enjoyed, and be able to define why you didn't enjoy them.
And so with those organizations, what was it? Was it the people? Was it the collaboration? Was there a specific, there could have been a person there that was a bully. And does that organization actually keep those bullies alive? Is it toxic? Like, what was it about those organizations? So if you think about that, it gives you a really good grounding as to what you're going to move to next or what you're going to be looking for and the questions that you're going to ask about the different roles.
And so just going back to that mindset piece, I think a lot of people think that you are that voice inside your head and you're not. So we all have that voice inside our head that doubts us and tells us that we can or can't do things. So I think if you actually find that you are in your head space a lot and it is derailing you or not supporting you, one of the habits to get into, and I think Emmy touched on this earlier. So when you have that thought internally that no, I can't do this, or they wouldn't want me, or there's not any jobs out there, you need to start questioning that. And it won't just be in your professional life. You actually find that it'll be in every area of your life because we all have that. But it just, if you haven't started questioning that, you'll find that you'll just go on automatic pilot, and you will be your mind will be telling you things that aren't real. So you just need to start questioning that. So next time your mind says to you and you think it's you, it's not you, says to you, no, you can't do this, go, is that true? And you'll find initially when you start doing this, you'll probably be doing it 50 times a day or 100 times a day, because if you're not aware of it, it'll just be happening all the time. But once you start doing that, questioning it, you'll actually find that a lot of it isn't true. And then that will kind of help you be able to look at things objectively instead of subjectively.
Absolutely. And so that's where the soul searching comes in too. So taking time to reflect on your values, your interests, your skills, where does it shine? So what truly motivates you? Different things motivate different people. It could be the flexibility in the organization. It could be the learning and development that you'll get. It could be the career progression. It could just be the person that you're reporting to. So it's good to dive into that and do the soul searching. And that's why the journaling really, really helps. Getting a pen and paper and actually writing it out makes a really big difference, because otherwise sometimes you'll just stay in your head as
And
Bianca.
also, yeah, and also on top of that, when you do that, or as well as, it's about kind of knowing where you're at this point in your life. So when you think about life, it's a journey. And so at different points of your life, you'll be at different stages where you'll have different responsibilities. So for example, if I think about my life 10 years ago, I was at that point in my life. I wasn't caring for parents, I wasn't caring for children. It was about me and my career. So if I was kind of looking at it from that time there, it was I wanted to move my career as much as I could. I could do those hours. I didn't need that much flexibility. I was looking at money. I was looking at all of these things that were important to me then. And now move it 10 years forward, my life is totally different. So if you just need to be, you can definitely go out there and get what you want, but there's a reality of it, of where you're at now and what your priorities are, and you need to write them down, because if you don't write them down and you're not aware of them, you will keep going for roles and you will keep ending up in the situation where you're like, this is shit. How come I've ended up in this situation? I'm not getting what I want, because you haven't been able to prioritize and you haven't been clear on that. So just know at this point in your life, it is a stage, and it won't last forever, and it will change again in the next however many years. But be really honest with yourself to realize where you're at in this point in time and what your negotiables are, what your non-negotiables are. Because if you don't do that, you won't align, and you'll keep ending up in situations where you're not happy.
Exactly. And so it's really important to identify your why. So it leads perfectly into that. Your journey, it's no one else's. It needs to be important to you. So uncovering your core values and passions and understanding your strengths and skills and defining your ideal career path that doesn't belong to anybody else. So even around the core values and passions, again, it's understanding what is going to align with your drive. So if your core value is collaboration and you're working in an organization where you're the sole operator and you're going to be doing everything yourself and it a lot like you're the buck stops with you, it's going to be very difficult to work with that value. Again, passions, like you can work for any type of organization, but is that organization fulfilling your passion? Is it doing that, it could be any type of organization, but if their direction or their set of values and principles don't align with where you want to go, then it's very hard, as I said before, when the job gets tough to keep going, because that's when burnout happens. So understanding your strengths and skills, a really good way of doing some of the strength work is um, go and talk to 3 managers that you've reported to before. Now, those managers, you can even talk to the one that you didn't like. It's a really good way of understanding what you did well, but also ask them, what was I like to manage? What did you see in me that you thought that I could build upon? Or asking those sorts of diving in questions. It's really reflective task to do, and it can be really enlightening. It can help you a lot on the way, and sometimes it can help boost your confidence when you feel like you're not getting anywhere with your job search too. I think in terms of defining your ideal career path, it's really important to we come across some people sometimes and they'll tell us that they want to be the head of human resources, say in 5-10 years, and we can see that there is a specific way to go about getting there in the end and getting all the skills that you need to become that head of human resources. And then we present them with a role that's going to give them that next sort of prong to their ladder, and they don't take it because they wanted that extra bit of something else. And it's like, well, hang on, you said that you wanted this. So it's really important to understand what building blocks will get you to the end result, because sometimes you do have to go into roles that will expand a certain skill set to be able to get you to your final place.
I mean, just in terms of kind of adding to that as well, but again, because Emma and I see this in working in the space that we have been for the last however long, we definitely do work with individuals, and our whole purpose is to, like Emma said, put them in that next step role. So we look at the alignment from the organizational perspective and from the individual's perspective. So is this going to give the individual what they want to be able to get to what their end goal is? And is this also meeting the organization's expectations in terms of skill set? So we're not setting anyone up to fail. And if you're within our community and you're sitting as a HR professional, which majority of you probably are, with HR, you've chosen a field that, I mean, at the end of the day, it's people, yeah. So we're managing people, and it's varied. So even when we're talking about organizations and having really good cultures and organizations that might not have the best cultures, there's nowhere's perfect because we're human beings. So I think it's also about, if you're in a role where you're really not enjoying it at this point in time, like there's never going to be like that purple unicorn where you're going to go because you're in HR and there's going to be no problems or no issues. But it's about understanding what areas, like what challenges am I happy to work with and what challenges am I not happy to work with. And that's what Emma kind of was touching on before around, is it developed? Like that's why you need to be really sure about or firm on what you're after, because you might have 10 things that you want. And if you can tick 6 of those boxes and get that, then when times are challenging, you've got like a bigger purpose and a bigger mission, and you're like, that's okay, because I know this happens, and you kind of bounce back and you still keep moving forward. If you don't have any of those box ticks ticked and you're not getting that, you're not getting what you want out of it, And it can be connection, it can be so many different things. It can be career progression, it can be the flexibility, it can be so many things depending on what you want as the individual. But if you're not getting them, you're not going to, you're going to, those problems, those potholes are going to feel bigger than what they are.
Absolutely. And sometimes, like you understand your strengths and skills, but it's really important to understand what you need more development in.
Develop. Yeah.
Yeah, be really self-aware around that and talk to your leaders about it. And like if you don't feel like you can, like you're in a position, like you think that that's a little bit tentative, you can't have that conversation, go and get external. Go and get external help. Tap into a mentor. Like just do anything that you can to bridge that gap if you've got a specific goal of getting to a certain role.
Yeah, build out your network,
Yeah.
because there are like, we know this, we talk and we work with so many HR professionals, and you're kind of busy, you've got your head down, you're working all the time, you're seen as that subject matter expert, people are going to you all the time, and you don't necessarily have the network to support you. You can get out there and get that network, because there's so many professionals out there who are looking for it as well. Um, and then once you have that support there, it just opens up what you see exists. And that's why people come to Emma and I, because we work with so many organizations, so many different industry sectors, so many different cultures. We can confidently talk about what exists out there. And if you're kind of got your head in your lane and you're kind of stuck in you're not aware, and you kind of create a reality that's not real. And that's why we're here to tell you it's probably not real what you think. And there's a lot more opportunity out there. And it's not because other people are amazing that they're getting these other opportunities. They have just gone through these core fundamentals and then focused on it and continually question what their automatic pilot is telling them, and just kind of have stayed on it, and they get there. We've worked with so many people and they're like, wow, we just didn't know that this existed, and it does.
Absolutely. And on those challenging negative thoughts and getting stuck in a loop, it's really important to understand. Like, it's a really good question that actually um, I ask my kids sometimes or other people looking for work is you wouldn't talk to a friend like that. So, the voices in your head telling you not good enough, or so and so will get that job, or I'm not getting a role. What would you tell a friend who had those thoughts? And what advice would you give that friend? So, if you sat back and took yourself out of the equation, how would you approach it? So, those negative thoughts can really bring you down, and obviously close you off to different opportunities as well, because you won't see them. So it's
We're
really
going to talk, we're going to talk to you at the end about kind of three more tactical things. So this is obviously about mindset and getting your head in the right space, which is like, it is at the core. So if you can't, like, you need to work this out, because if you can't, then you're always going to get the same type of outcome that you're getting. But then in terms of the kind of, so put the thinking down in terms of the things that you can do to kind of expedite you getting in front of organizations and to make you that successful candidate or HR professional. We've got kind of two or three things that we'll talk about that we see move the needle the most as well when we're helping individuals find their job as well. So you'll have the tactical stuff that you can do as well.
Absolutely. And building that confidence, because it can be a little bit soul destroying sometimes when you're stuck in that loop. So um, those foundational pieces that we'll talk about at the end will really help build that confidence, because you'll have a solid foundation there. So look at your after you've spoken to those managers, do some self-reflection on the successes that you've had and where you felt that you've made the biggest impact, and build on those and think about those, because it will help you to not only present yourself but actually sell yourself in the interview and the job approach, so that job search process. And think about some of the challenges you've overcome too, or helped your teams overcome. So write those down. Um, but remember, every little step you take each 24 hours at a time. Each step you take brings you closer to what you want to achieve. So it's really important that you actually celebrate your progress as well. So if we talk about, like, everybody's done goal setting, and it's something that we should actually look at every now and then, and everybody has a different way of setting goals. But writing them down is an important thing to do in your job search, because you want to be specific. There are SMART goals. You can do it however you like, as long as you write something down so that you can look back in a year's time and say, this is what I achieved, or in 3 months' time, this is what I achieved. And actually you have that, it helps with your mindset as well. So if you have a vague idea about what you want, see if you can break it down into a SMART goal. So being specific, make it measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. So with that, and especially making it time bound, what will happen is you will start to make make positive moves in the right direction to achieve that goal. So instead of saying, I want to find a new job, you might want to say, I want to submit 5 job applications per week for the next month, and I will track those. So keeping on top of them. So with those applications, putting the application in, follow up with a note and a phone call if you can. I know sometimes it's hard. I know that people don't put their contact details on jobs, but the ones that you can, and the person, if you can find the person that's hiring the role, send them a note. It does make a difference.
And then, yeah, send them a note on LinkedIn.
Yeah. So once you have those SMART goals, create an action plan. So break down your goals into manageable steps. So it does help you maintain your direction, stay on track, and then you can celebrate your success as well. And it's less daunting.
That's it. Like this is, if you're going to do it, then you need to, when you do it well, you don't muck around with it. So if you're putting the time and effort to put goals around it, then it's also telling yourself and that voice in your head that you're committed to doing this. So it just keeps you accountable.
Absolutely. And with those SMART goals, put together an action plan. So look at specific tasks, deadlines, different resources you'll need. Um, you can set it out so you can talk about in your notebook or on a spreadsheet, wherever you want to put it that works for you. Put down your why, your vision, talk to that manager, look at your strengths, look at your areas of development, and then start those really actionable steps. So those 5 applications per week, coffee with a new organization, coffee with someone that you've looked up to, connect with a couple of really good recruiters. So they're the actionable steps that you can take.
Shout
So
out to people on LinkedIn. So people who you've worked with previously as well. And just send them like a quick note going, just say, hey, just want to check in and see how you're going. And wait for them to reply. And when they do, just say, I'm looking at, I'm starting to look at different career. I'm starting to look at consider a career move. And so generally people want to help you. Like it's really just sending a message that opens it up initially.
yeah,
Don't send a message and have like 5 paragraphs in there if you haven't spoken to someone for 12 months going, hey, how are you going? Hey, I'm really not liking my job. I'm looking for a job. Can you help me? That's not the right way to do it. But get in touch initially, like, hey, how you going? It's been a while. Just wanted to check in and see how you're going. And then when they reply, then just kind of mention at top level. Yeah, you're good. You're starting to kind of put your head out and see what opportunities are in the market because you're thinking about making a move or making that next step. If people want to help you, they will come back to you and they might be like, yeah, that's great. Let's stay in touch. If I hear of anything, I'll let you know. The amount of people who have done this and reached out to different contacts, like I promise you, generally you will get at least kind of, depending on how much volume, how many you send out, but you will get a few people coming back. So say you've worked with them at a company before, they've moved on, but now they're looking for someone in their company, or they know someone who knows someone. Like it's not just the active roles that are on Seek and LinkedIn. There's a large passive recruitment market there as well. So going out and doing that, it might feel a bit weird at first, depending on if you're kind of used to doing stuff like that. But if people don't want to help you, they just won't reply. So like you have nothing to lose.
absolutely. And go in from the angle of asking for help, asking for connections. People generally will want to help. So, has anyone got any questions that they they want to ask now. If you don't want to, like, you can go in anonymous. It doesn't matter, like anything that you need help with, or you have a burning question that you want to ask a recruiter. Now
We've got a chat, or what, the Q&A box?
yeah, you can use the webinar chat, you can use the Q&A box, whatever's easiest for you. Both of them are there and ready. And if you don't want to ask now, or you walk away and you think, okay, this is all a little bit overwhelming, you can connect with Bianca and I. We are on, obviously we're on LinkedIn. You can send us a message on LinkedIn. Our contact details are on our website, which is www.peopleandpurpose.com.au. So you can connect with us on there as well. And then we also have a circle community where there are lots of resources, not only just for job searching, but also for HR professionals. So if you want an invitation to our community circle, that you can definitely have that. Someone asked about views on the current HR job market in 2025 outlook. So that's a big question. But what we've found this year is there has been a very big focus on compliance, industrial relations, changing legislation around industrial relations and psychosocial risk. So a lot of the roles and a lot of the organizations that we've been working with this year have been getting their house in order around those different aspects. So it's been a very revision type of year. And as much as we don't want to admit it, the American election does have a very big impact on our economy and our job market. Even talking to people in the tech industry, for example, there are a lot of people holding back on investment until they found out which administration was going to get into power. So whether it was a Trump or a Biden administration, the organization, in terms of where they're going next year, we feel that there's going to be a lot more investment in well-being. We did a webinar with Miriam Doucher, who is the HR transformation lead for Mercer, a couple of months ago, talking about how HR need to be stewards of humanity in this new revolution, which is the AI revolution. So looking at how AI is implemented into organizations, what are you using AI for, and how, as HR professionals, can we make sure that we're bringing the human back to work? And so really banging the drum around, okay, yes, we've got all of this AI and it is going to take out the mundane tasks, but we don't want to replace a whole layer of human beings. So working with the leaders, getting them to understand, yes, we're going to have more room for critical thinking, we're going to have more room for empathy, and we're going to have more room for well-being. There should not be people working 10, 12-hour days when 4 hours are taken up by mundane tasks. That's something that AI can do. So within that, the stewards of humanity piece is really important, and HR are at the fore of that and the fore of those conversations, which is really, really important.
I think Sarah, with Sarah's question there, she said, question, do you feel there are a lot more candidates currently on the market? It feels like a lot more folks are going for the same role. Is that perception or reality? It's definitely, it's both. Like, I think if you think about the last 12 months, definitely has been challenging, like Emma said, just around economic conditions, like locally and globally, the confidence hadn't been there in the economy, interest rates, elections. Also, like when you think about what happened during, and I know like this still plays though a part, even though it feels like a few years ago now, but with COVID, you think about how hard it was to get skilled candidates in, and talent. It was a talent war. So because of that, I have never in my career seen salaries increased at such a rapid rate. So you take all of those kind of conditions into consideration. So you have people who are sitting in roles where if they were to leave now, they would make less money than what they received when they moved into that role kind of 1 or 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Organizations, especially when it comes to HR is such a niche market. So with HR, when organizations are holding the dollars and wanting to see what's happening locally and globally with the economy, and someone goes on maternity leave for HR, they probably won't refill that role. It'll be the rest of the team in HR that will just be taking on more responsibility. And then because there aren't as many roles advertised, you're not having that movement. So people are just sitting in the roles. And so that's why you're finding when you're applying for a job, yeah, definitely there are a lot more individuals applying to roles than there are roles available. Which, if you think about like the HR market generally, when it's when it's pretty good economically, that's not the case. It's the other way. It can be really challenging to find um, good HR professionals for all the roles that are out there. So that is a reality. But in saying that, Sarah, the confidence is coming back in the market. So for the last 3 months, and like Emma said, because of these changes that's happened economically, locally and overseas, and interest rates as well, all of that, you can see the confidence is coming back into the market. So we're having more and more conversations now with heads of HR, with talent, heads of talent around pipelining or around them bringing on their teams in the new year. And generally the HR market will pick up it's really Feb, like kind of after Australia Day. And when it does kick off, it's like famine or feast. So you will find that there will be more opportunities next year, definitely. Just the timing of where confidence has come back into the market on the calendar just hasn't been great because we're coming into the end of the year, so people are kind of winding down. So if this had happened kind of 6 months ago, you'd say for like the next 5 or 6 months, you'll really see an increase in the market. So it's
Yeah,
definitely going to be better next year.
it will. And we get some of the insights from LinkedIn, obviously, because of the amount of work that we do on there. And well, in the last 3 months, there's been a 33% increase of directors of talent acquisition being advertised, which TA's like the canary in the mine. When talent acquisition, when there's reductions in talent acquisition, it tells you what's happening in the market, and vice versa. When they start recruiting for talent acquisition people again, you can see that things are starting to improve.
Yeah.
And there's more hope and optimism in that market. And just following on from the candidates in the market piece, if you're a really senior HR person, it's not just you. There are a lot of senior HR people looking at the moment, and so you will find that. But we can see next year shifting. So go into the new year with a renewed vigor and a positive mindset, and know what you're looking for, but be a little bit flexible. Like, just be a little bit flexible around some of the things, because the people that come to us and have a list of, say 5 things that they want, but we've got 4, but won't look at it because it doesn't have that 5. Just be open, because you
But
never know
six,
what
so,
it's gonna be like.
and like 3 or 6 months later, we're
Yeah.
like, seriously, we're talking to those same people and they haven't made that move because they didn't get their 6 things and now they're coming back going, oh, I'll just take 2 of them. And we're like, well, it doesn't exist like what you want
Yeah.
now. So
Anymore.
you need to be flexible. And the amount of people that we talk to as well, like, and I know it's hard, and that's why it is like it's good to align yourself with a good recruiter. Because a lot of organizations can't, like, they don't share a lot. So when you're looking at jobs, you're like, should I, shouldn't I? I'd say if you are kind of second guessing yourself on whether you should or shouldn't apply, first you need a keyworded CV. But secondly, when you do apply, have an open conversation. You might find that organization, it's ideal, and what was reflected in the advert isn't actually the reality of it because someone in TA's put it up and copied and pasted a job description. Or you might
Yeah.
find you have a conversation asking 2 or 3 things, and you get those more like those alarm bells, then you know. So there's nothing wrong with throwing your hat in the ring.
No,
But when I say that, you need that aligned CV, but that's a different topic as well.
definitely. And we'll close out with that. We'll tell you how to do that. So, um, another question that came through was, do you see contract opportunities growing versus perm
That's a
opportunities?
good question.
Yeah, it is a good question. I haven't really seen it. We haven't seen it change, but we know that for specific projects, yes. Like, I feel that the contractors that are out there at the moment are doing really specific things. So it's not just maternity leave. It is a specific alignment around industrial relations or a specific alignment around occupational health and safety and the changing legislation. So,
Yeah, it's
as I said,
risk. It's
yeah,
something risk associated because organizations, so when you think about it, contracting with HR will be aligned to what the organization kind of must do at that point in time. Because we're not in the like we're definitely not in the market where you know when the market's good and you've got a lot of L and OD roles, all those value add roles. So depending on kind of where the economy's at will dictate kind of those contracting opportunities. But I think also what will be interesting is just from a generational point of view, I think that contracting piece will increase because what individuals want is very much changing. But from a HR perspective, I don't see as much contracting in this industry as I would say, like in supply chain, or supply chain or IT or stuff like that. So HR still kind of like that permanent CV, unless it's
yeah,
like you said, there's that maternity leave or that like a
yes,
need for a certain skill set because of legislative changes.
yeah. But they're really good questions. Um, and we're here, like, like someone just said that she's not sure it was a great time to pivot, but I think it is because you have to, with the world of HR at the moment, with the speed of change, the amount of change and everything that's coming, if you're in a role that you don't like, you're going to get burnt out. It's not good for you. It's not good for your health. It's not good for the team. So, I think that, hopefully we gave you some tips today that will help in terms of the tangible things that you can walk away with and, things that help you stand out. It's not going back to basics, but it's going back to foundation. So that keyworded CV is really important. A good LinkedIn profile. I don't care what you say, people will check you out. They will check your social profiles. They will check your LinkedIn profile. They may even Google your name. So it's really, really important that your online profile reflects what you say in your CV. And even a couple of weeks ago with a senior HR professional, we got a CV that didn't match their LinkedIn profile. And that just, it screams alarm bells. So it's really important that everything lines up and has some, good reasons for why you moved on. And then interview prep. So good interview prep will definitely get you ahead of the others. So they're three really important things. And
Just with that keyworded CV and exactly what you said. I think one easy way to do it without going into too much detail, we'll do another webinar on this because I could spend hours talking about this, is you've got the advert you're applying for, or you've got the JD. That's like how specific you want it to be. So if you look at that advert or if you look at the JD, kind of the first paragraph that's in there will then be backed up by kind of the first 3 or 4 bullet points in the job description. They're the key areas that you want to bring out in your CV. So for example, if they're looking for a certain skill set and it is down in bullet point 7 of your CV and it's number 1 on theirs, it could even just be like reshuffle. So when you think about a keyworded CV, you need to think about who is reviewing that CV, and that's who you're writing your CV for. So you can't assume that that person is going to spend 10 minutes trying to pick out your key relevant experience in that CV, because they're not. And when they look at that CV, they're going to scan from left to right. So that's why when we talk about a keyworded CV, like it is littered throughout your CV. And they're going to be scanning and they're probably going to have a job description next to them that the manager's given them. And they're going to be like, all right, they need to have these key three things or 4 things, and they're going to go through your CV and look for that. And the beauty about that keyworded CV is you can then use that keyworded CV, copy and paste a lot of that stuff into your LinkedIn profile. With that LinkedIn profile, I just want to be clear, you will have a different LinkedIn profile to when you're searching for a role to when you're in a role. So when you're searching for a role, you're going to have it really keyworded up. And the reason why you do that is because the person in the back end who's doing the searching on LinkedIn for their ideal person is going to be typing in keywords. The more of those words that you have in your profile, the higher you're going to come up in the search results. So quickly, as an example, if you really like OD or if you really like ER or IR, whatever it is, you're going to have that littered throughout your LinkedIn profile and probably under the banner of your name. You can just have put some position titles there. When you get the job, you can then change that over again. So you don't need to be so targeted and so specific, but every time that people do work on this, it pushes the needle, and they generally get pushed for the role. And then the other element that Em spoke about is interview prep. You need to interview prep. So, but the good thing is, if you're going for similar roles, like if you're an HR professional, you know what you like doing, you know what you're good at. The interview prep that you do, you'll be able to use for any interview that you go for as well. And the amount of people that we've helped with this, it's even just the start of it, that interview, it goes a lot more seamlessly if you've done the preparation. It stops you from going into fight or flight. And then you don't walk out of that interview going, oh, Jesus, why didn't I give this example, this example, this example? Because once that interview is done, it's hard to get to undo it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So spend the time to do it. Because it
And
makes
it
such
stops
a
you
difference.
rambling too,
Yeah,
because they just want to understand what you did, what the situation is. It goes back to situation, task, and outcome. So they just want to know what you did and what impact you had, and you can use um that methodology in terms of the interview prep.
how you answer it.
Yeah, and I think like with the keyworded CV, a lot of people will say, well, AI will just reject it. There is still like there was a survey done a couple of weeks ago through, I think it was the Australasian Talent Conference or Talent Table, and they were talking about they were asking recruiters whether they still read CVs and eyeball CVs. Recruiters eyeball CVs. Your keywords will get you in an ATS, and it will get you into the top, say, whatever, top 2%, top 5% according to the job. And then those recruiters will eyeball those CVs. So it's really important that they match. Another question that's just come in is around cover letters. It's always a debate with talent acquisition people. I like cover letters. I really do, because you can see how someone speaks. You can tell whether it's gone through ChatGPT. So write your cover letter yourself. Use it.
Right, so when you say that, so we're saying I
Use
don't like cover
ChatGPT
letters.
framework. Yeah, see,
Yeah.
like for
So it's
recruiters.
personal preference.
But if they say during the application process,
Mm.
cover letter and CV, do a cover letter. If
Yeah.
they don't say it, don't do one. It's unnecessary, because they probably won't look at it. And then the ATS
Yeah.
brings up the CV. And
CV. Yeah. And I think you're right with that cover letter, definitely like keyword it. Again, like with the keywording's not cheating. The keywording is just making it easy for that person sitting in front. They're not going to read through 4 paragraphs of a cover letter that talks about intangible skills. They want the skill set aligned to the role, because they want to know, should I be spending my time looking at this person? Do they have the skill set that we need? And
yeah,
just lastly, as well, I think a lot of people think because if you're great at your job and you're operating at a certain level and you're like, HR inside and out, that does not convert to you being a good interviewee. It just, because they're 2 different things. So no one goes home from work and then clocks what they did in terms of having it ready, stalled for like a behavioral based interview question. It just doesn't happen. So if you don't do that prep, don't expect that you're just going to be able to kind of go in there and wing it. I mean, unless you're like, I've probably only seen like maybe 2 or 3% of people that can do that.
yeah, yeah. You'd be surprised. But that's it. I think that we've answered the questions that have been asked today, and thank you so much for your participation. And honestly, if you need anything further, feel free to get in touch with us. But we hope you got some value from today, and we liked being here with you. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, guys.